This is the one I wanted you to be. Now take I and you away and be. Just be. This matter world thinks green again. The small rain remembers everything. I taste the look of you sitting there, legs crossed to keep from speaking. The secret word of war breathes out the distances, so close you can almost touch your hands. Every word you speak thanks you for being, but how to forget a book you read? It's busy remembering itself inside you all day long. At night you dream alternate solutions. Let your bones take over. They'll walk through snow to accurate outcomes. The man in the mask was your mother. The stolen emerald is a bridge across the Seine. That line, every word you speak thanks you for being, sounds like line. You, doesn't it? That sounds
I had the same feeling about it. It's like,
Who stole that from where?
Yeah, really. It must be prove that I'm imitating you.
No. Well, this is published for you.
Who would have thunk?
That was 74. 75 says, the deer walk through our woods are not our deer. We are theirs by sharing blood with sunshine. We are all little footnotes to the same absent text. I did not like the size of what he said. Annotations come in all thicknesses in alphabets. I will be as big as your mama windmill. You can sip sherry from my daughter's shoe. He parried, and I said, I do not drink. I do not even think. The day is dangerous enough. You have saved their shadows, but let the birds escape. That is what it means to own a plot of ground. Land refines your identity day by day. Sometimes the earth tells you what it sees in you, to let you walk freely there and not be smitten, swallowed up, eaten by the lion on the ridge. He said, I said, there is no lion. And he roared. This, Uncertainties, is the second volume in a trilogy of poems. The first was called Fire Exit, published a couple of years ago in Boston. And that poem is written in 3-line stanzas, tercetti, consciously, playfully, seriously, blasphemously, to imitating Dante. Not narratively, there's no revelations, but to that sense of the Dante canto made up of 3-line stanzas, each of which connect in interesting ways in Dante. So I was concerned with the same sorts of connections. How the other way is that comes to the Uncertainties, which is in 2-line stanzas, and I want to call them 2-line stanzas rather than couplets, is that both the Fire Exit and this Uncertainties were very strongly motivated by something that's been bothering me for years and years, the notion that the line should be able to stand all by itself and yet also be part of a connected discourse. So my definition of the line for me is, can it stand alone? I used to torture my students by saying to them, imagine you're going to die at the end of the line. Imagine this is the last thing you'll ever have said. Make sure that line is a good testament. So I like the notion of the line as an absolutely freestanding event, which at the same time couples with what came before and what follows. In this way, one has the richness of the stasis and the richness of continuity. But the sense of the 2-line stanza, which is made up of 2 single integral lines, i.e. husband and wife, lover and lover, God and man, spirit and matter, all the great and faintly hokey dualities of our existence. So I was fascinated with that possibility of a line that is both itself and its own wife or its own husband, depending on how the next line would turn or the previous line turned. I'm basically working with free-form melodies in my head, that shape the movement of the poem. So you could think of Uncertainties as like a sonata with many movements or a symphony with many movements, because each of them has a distinct melodic cast in my mind, and it ends when it ends. When I read the poem out loud, it's all I can do not to, so to speak, sing it, get too caught up in the... it sounds hokey if I read it the way I hear it,
Really?
Because nobody wants to sit and listen to a poem that way, maybe more than once. But in my head, the sky is doing very remarkable color effects back there. I wish you could see it. Blue turns into yellow, like it's after image.
Right,
Anyway.
right. In your head.
But in my head, the thing is very lush and symphonic and slow. It's not as fast as I read it. As what
Interesting. That's interesting, because you've always read rather fast.
Yes, yes.
And which I've always wondered why, because the sounds are so rich to bathe in so many places that I wondered why you didn't give us that time.
I'm forever guiding students of poetry, or younger poets, to read slower. I say things like, you can't read it too slowly. You can't read it too slowly. This I think I could read too slowly, because it would just dissolve the way a tone cluster would dissolve. But maybe, I don't know. Someday I'll read it as I feel, as I hear it, which is almost timeless, really slow.
That's really interesting, because the way you just read it was actually very beautiful. It was extraordinary, actually, because you allowed the voice to carry the body sense of the words in a very immediate and particular way, which I thought was really, really beautiful.
One line reflects what comes before it, and somehow tries to reflect upon or cast its light or darkness on the line that follows, in the same way each section did that. So I see these as Chinese boxes of reflections. And they went strictly in that order. I rearranged nothing. I feel that rearrangement of things in time, for me, is close to a sin. Because if the poems do nothing else, they at least reflect the orderly development of an idea or a person. Taking each poem as a person, right? Usually a line will come that tells me, okay, that's it, no more is needed here. Or sometimes you're not getting any more. You've had your oatmeal, now finish it.
This is not about me, so let me just say this for very personal reasons, and we'll cut it out. But I want to say that
Don't you cut it.
what's different about us in this respect, at least in terms of what you just said, is that I have no interest in time in that way. To me, the poem tells me what time it is. The preverb lines are written all day long. I mean, they'll just come to me and I'll write it down. And the order in which they come into the poem has nothing to do with their order being written down. When it does happen that they are in order, I'm kind of like very mystified that I was able to write things in an order that they would sustain as far as the page. Because it almost never happens. I mean, it's not that I don't write poems that stick together, but predominantly they are events in their own right, and then they're attracted to a matrix of composition that I don't feel in control of. It's very mysterious to me.
And yet the results are, if you don't mind such a simple word, are very linear.
At times.
The ones read very linearly, the ones I read.
At least in recent times. They've learned to reconstitute their true order. But they've learned, not me.
Up to it again.
I really don't know how to do it. And I really don't know that I'm doing it until I read it afterward. And then I'm amazed when they do, And that is my stance, always in composition. What does it want to be? Not because I don't have a clue about what it's supposed to be. I think I'm not that smart, to know how to put my poems together.
Well, I feel the same way, but they are doing it.
They are. I know they are, but they're doing it at least with respect to time, maybe I'm just too screwy or something. I don't know, but I don't get that. I don't get that impulse.
I think it's because I sit down when I get up in the morning. I sit down and say, "All right,
right,
dictate," and it comes.
Okay, boys.
You run around doing other things, and they come bit by bit to you.
Maybe that's how it is. Yeah.
I mean, they are at least they're willing to accommodate our lifestyle.
I've never had your ability to write in the way that you write. It just sort of daily in that way of sort of. My work is motivated differently, and I had to give up any illusion of writing in that way.
I would be frightened to do so. I find it unnerving to begin a day where I have to do other things before I can encounter the notebook. Just unnerving, not terrifying, but just odd.
Yeah.
I haven't written yet. I don't keep any other diary. If I expired, the only thing that would be left of me would be the poems and of course the malevolent memories of my friends who would tell how they were all copied from Pound. But it seems to me important to keep the line of time, because the animal that's coming to expression there is not me, but someone else, some other thing. The poem is a person. The poem does have a right to speak. It does have a right to want what it wants and say itself. And we who write those poems, at least the real poems, the kind that I really want us to talk about, those poets who actually do that, who are willing to subject themselves to the emergence of the poem from their own confusions. Go to a country they haven't used up. You know what I mean. Do fresh. Follow your body where it tells you, take me. Your body is the anteroom of that country. That which points to the other, they call it, down there in their ripe destitution. Crowded in a jungle, people everywhere, false description of the mind, plastic model of the brain that doesn't work. The parts are mixed. The names are just colors left over from your paint box when you were 6, and the colors are all wrong. The colors called when you were young, but you would never listen. Now it's too late. Now the false brain is stuck with harboring the true mind. Your eyes ache every morning. You can't sleep. Snow lingers in the shady sulci of your head. Animalcules seen in microscopes abound, each one a new disease you were born to die from or to cure.